Good afternoon, Niner fans. How we feeling? It's the off season and it's rolling along. As you know, there's been some news. Let's talk about it today. 49ers coaching staff is still in the works a little bit. They haven't officially done like a press conference, and there's still some positions that are getting interviewed around the league. And we're going to talk about it. Obviously, the 49ers are always a team that has big news, and they're always around. The teams that want them, right? They're going to get poached, right? The 49ers front office, their coaches, always in the spotlight. Like we've always sit here and talk about, like, why do they always just take the Niners? But it is what it is. It's a good thing. So we'll talk about those. A few other notes over the last couple of days. Some news on Brock Purdy. You guys probably already seen that news, but I'm going to recap it. And there's some news about Devondre Campbell. I was cracking up last night when I saw that update. So we are officially, 2 days off the Super Bowl, and, it is what it is. It's all water under the bridge last season, and now we got to focus on the 2025 season, and hopefully 49ers can do what it takes to get back to the Super Bowl, and this time win it in Levi Stadium. I mean, to have home field advantage in the Super Bowl would be amazing. So what is up, everybody? Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, like my boy Jimmy says. What's up, Deb? What's up, Steven Reynolds? Rashad, what's good? Hey, Peter Parker, my man says, what's up? What's up, Faithful, California man? AJ Bermuda says, Niners need a lot of players to cover lots of holes in this team for the next season. They got to stack the trenches. One thing we learned from the Super Bowl, you got to have trenches. You got to be stout because you can't just have like good players. You got to have some really dominant players. Look at the Eagles. If the 49ers are going to have to knock them off, they need to have a great defensive line to penetrate through their O-line, and you got to have a great O-line so their D-line doesn't take yours down. So D-line, O-line, the draft is so rich in defensive line talent, but it's also, one of the positions that they need to get is offensive line. So it's like you have to invest heavily early in the draft if you can. If not, free agency, if you're not going to be able to get some like stonewall offensive linemen, you have to go and get some free agents that are really good. So you can't get around with mediocre offensive linemen. Like Dominic Pooney is great. Hopefully he stays that way. But everybody else, like Jake Brendel took a huge step down. Colton McKivitz is a backup at best. He's not a bad like swing tackle, but he's not a starter. Aaron Banks, he's probably gone. So, you have to really hang tough. You really have to hunker down and build these trenches. But, we'll talk about that a little later. The big news, the news of the day is the 49ers assistant defensive coach, Brandon Staley, is one of the big names. He's a serious candidate for the Saints defensive coordinator position under the new head coach, Kellen Moore. This is according to Adam Schefter and Jordan Schultz. Brandon Staley last week was the assistant head coach on the defensive side of things. He helped Nick Sorensen, I guess. He coached the nickel DBs and everybody. And he's been a defensive coordinator before with the Rams. He's been a head coach with the Chargers. And now he might get an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator and kind of redeem himself. He didn't get the defensive coordinator gig last year with the Niners. They kept him on as an assistant, and now Robert Saleh is here. And obviously, I'm sure he doesn't want to have Brandon Staley on his staff. This is Robert Saleh's staff. He doesn't need Staley. So, the word on the street was Staley's going to be gone. He's going to be, let go from the team. It hasn't made an official announcement. The team hasn't made an official announcement, but that's the word on the street. And it looks like Kellen Moore is going to bring Brandon Staley, or at least consider him to be their defense coordinator. So he gone. I mean, it is what it is. Maybe he's a good defensive coach, but the Saints were the last team to finally hire a coach that needed one. They got Kellen Moore, the Eagles offensive coordinator. It's a big loss for the Eagles. He was a really good offensive coordinator. I think it's a good opportunity for the Saints. I just don't think the Saints are a good team. And if you thinking about, can he have success? Maybe. The division is really bad. So he could get 9 wins, 10 wins, and win that division. You're probably competing against Baker and the Bucks. Definitely Atlanta. They're a team that probably should have won that division, but they squandered it at the end of the season. Kirk Cousins lost them a lot of games. So now, Michael Penix will get his chance to be the full-time starter there at the start of the season. And then, Bryce Young, man, he took a step up took a step up. And I could see Debo get traded to the Carolina Panthers. That's a team that nobody's thinking about. They have money. They got Xavier Legette. That's one of Debo's good friends. We'll see. And they got a young quarterback, Bryce Young. You need to get him some talent. So, Kellen Moore to the Saints, and now he might take Brandon Staley to be his defense coordinator position. We'll see. I don't think fans of the Niners are going to be too upset of losing Brandon Staley. Now, a guy that might be gone from the Niners is their director of scouting and football operations, Josh Williams. He's been on this team for a long time as a front office member. And today he was the first candidate to interview for the Jaguars general manager position. As you know, Liam Cohen a couple weeks ago took the head coach job. He turned down the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then boom, they needed a GM because they fired Trent Baalke. You got to love it. And today they interviewed Josh Williams. It was, expected for him to interview for this job. And now he's, the first one to interview. Now he is a minority. If the 49ers do lose him and he becomes a GM, 49ers would gain 2 compensatory picks, third-round picks. They get 1 consecutive year. So you get, let's say he gets hired in 2026, they would have a third-round pick. And then 2027, they would have a third-round pick, both compensatory picks because of the minority hire rule. So if you're a Niner fan, you kind of want him to get hired, obviously for him and to better his career. But if you're going to lose a person in your front office and you're going to lose a coach, you want him to get upgraded and promoted so he can get the comp picks, I guess. I guess that's the way to look at it. But he's definitely been on this team for a long time, and hopefully he can get this opportunity, and maybe it's a step in the next direction for Josh Williams, right? So we'll see. But it could just be a Rooney Rule type of hire, right? The teams have to interview a minority head coach, GM, whatever, whenever they're looking for these positions. So it's kind of like you have to interview them. Is that what this is for? Is it because of the minority rule? Who knows? We'll see how this goes. But again, Josh Williams was interviewed today for the Jaguars general manager position. They announced it also that they finished the interview about an hour ago. So we'll see. I don't know who else they have as candidates, but if Josh takes the job, we're going to get 2 compensatory picks. So that's nice. The Niners, people complain that the Niners they get too many comp picks. They get, they're bending the rules. They just know how to use the damn rules. They go and hire every minority that they can because that's what the rules want you to do. They're like trying to promote hire minorities, and they're good coaches, good front office. They hire good people, and it just happens to be that they're minorities. And then boom, when they leave, because everybody wants a piece of the 49ers, they're going to get rewarded for it. So the 49ers just know how to use the rules. It's like in the Eagles. They use the damn tush push. People get mad, but you can't stop it. If you can't stop it, they're going to keep doing it until you stop it. So those are the rules, and the 49ers play within the rules in terms of hiring coaches. So let's take a look at some of these comments. Stephen Reynolds says, I want Staley gone anyways. Yeah, like I said, I don't think most people are too bent over shape that Brandon Staley is going to be gone, right? MSQ says, remember, this schedule looks like a cakewalk right now, but these teams can make drastic improvements in their respective rosters. And that's a good point. Right now, it looks like paper tiger schedule. It looks easy for the 49ers. Now, how much improvements can these teams that look like bottom dwellers make? Who knows? But you absolutely never know. Everybody expected the 49ers to be the big bad wolf, to be the number 1 team in the NFC, right? Or at least among the best, and they only won 6 games. So you're right. Teams can fall apart. Teams can get better. Every year is different. There's parity in the NFL. Who knows? And, one thing is maybe they do breeze through the schedule. Maybe it is easy. Will they be battle tested? Will be strong enough to beat a team like the Eagles or the Commanders? Commanders are going to get better. So you're right. We never know. Like, we can sit here and be like, oh, my God, easy schedule, Super Bowl and Levi's, and we could be hyped up. But you never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, obviously, we're hoping for the best, and we want them to be great. But we'll see how it goes, right? What's up, AJ Howard? Let's see. Rick says, Trent ain't getting any younger. We need to build the trenches, O-line, D-line. But, man, we need to address many areas, too. Wide receiver, defensive end, linebacker, safety. Yeah, it's not a team that is just a couple pieces away. I mean, there was a 6-win team. I mean, you got some issues, right? Secondary needs some help. Safety, for sure. I mean, Malik Mustafa is great, but Jair Brown, he didn't look too hot this year. Talanoa Hufanga, are they going to bring him back? If they don't, you still need depth there. Cornerback looked good. I think that's definitely a good spot. But linebacker, will Dre be back? If he's back, you still need depth because you can't count on him to be 100% healthy. Who knows with that injury? It's rough. It's scary, but we all want him back, right? Dre Greenlaw. But how much, can he bring to the table next year? That's a big question. Defensive end, right? Leonard Floyd wasn't as strong as we wanted. I mean, he was okay, but he's not like an elite game-changing type edge rusher. Nick Bosa needs help out there. He's been needing help. Get a guy like Myles Garrett, that's a whole different story. You got Myles and Bosa. It's like, oh my God, can they do something like that? And you don't want to waste Fred Warner and Nick Bosa's prime. Right now, it seems like it's kind of at that point, right? We need to stack this D-line. You're right, wide receiver with Deebo Samuel now requesting a trade, and Brandon Ayuk having a massive injury. Can we count on Ricky Pearsall? We know Juwan Jennings is great, but how much are you going to get out of him in another year? Like, is he going to have another monster season? Will teams be keying on him? They got more film on Juwan Jennings. They'll probably put more, double teams on him. And George Kittle's great. We're going to extend him most likely, but, you still need more weapons. So, and then the health of Christian McCaffrey. So there's still a lot of questions on this team, but I am optimistic because you did get better coaches. You fired, Sorensen and Schneider, and there were issues. If you watch the Super Bowl, special teams is a big, part of the game. And the 49ers failed in that department many times. And throughout the years, with Brian Schneider, like field position, missed kicks, poor assignments, fumbles, botched returns, and just a lot of issues. If you remember the Super Bowl, there was special teams miscues, and that needed to be changed. They had a few special teams plays that could have went the other way last year and probably would have changed the tide of a lot of games, especially the Super Bowl. So definitely need to fix that area. So there's a lot of holes. And again, people are taking our coaches, our front office members. You gotta fill when somebody is gone. Now you got to fill that gap, right? So if we lose Josh Williams, what are you going to do? How are you going to promote it? Because that is a big factor that people aren't realizing. Right? Josh Williams, as we said, is going to, he interviewed for the Jaguar GM position. If he takes that job, now you have to find another scouting guy. He's a director of scouting, right? Very good person in the front office. Now you got to shift gears, and we're in the middle of scouting, basically. The combine's in a few weeks, right? So you have to change your gears quickly and adapt and find someone else that's going to help you scout, because the Niners can't miss on this draft, right? This is a very big draft with 36 free agents. You got to hit on this draft like you did last year. And if you miss on this draft, it might set you back a little bit, because the 49ers missed on drafts leading up to last year. There's a lot of bad picks over the last couple of years, right? So you need a really good talent scout. And if they lose Josh Williams, that affects that. Again, I know they get the comp picks, and that's great. But what good is a draft pick if you can't scout good players? So that's the way I look at it. Hopefully they replace him if he leaves with the good, talent scout. But you never know. And, it's a good opportunity for him, and I hope he gets the job. But at the same time, if he does get it, hopefully the Niners can really replace that position with someone that's got a good eye for football. So we'll see. A couple other things, as we said, Brock Purdy. If you look at the topic of the live, Brock Purdy, some Brock Purdy news. Yesterday, 49ers owner Jed York said he saw Brock Purdy's agent this week, and he says, "I know we want Brock here for a long, long time, and I believe we will make that work." So it looks like they're pretty much, in contract negotiations, as was reported a couple of days ago. I think on the Super Bowl, that was the news, that, Brock Purdy and his agent are for sure already, in the process, and Jed York confirmed it. Jed York, the Niners owner, confirmed the team will look to extend contract for Brock Purdy. He says, "I know we want Brock to be here for a long, long time. We'll do everything we can do to make that work." This is also a quote of what Jed York said. He says, "Brock is just a tremendous human being. I'm looking forward to a long-term partnership." So, man, Jed York is all aboard. The 49ers are looking to extend him. And, one thing that Brock Purdy wanted to do is get this contract situation ASAP. Wanted to get it done. And it kind of sounds like they're moving quickly on this, or at least engaging in talks and getting things, rolling. This is a little bit faster than I noticed with, some other players, Bosa and Ayuk and Deebo, and those things dragged out, and it was like dramatic, and the whole situation was wild. I think this one is going to go a lot smoother. It just seems like Brock wants to play. He's cooperative. There's not going to be a hitch in this situation. They're going to say, hey, look, this is what we want. The agent's going to say, this is what we want. And I think they're going to talk, negotiate, find something in the middle and be done with it. I really think this is going to be no drama. And I kind of like that. So right now, Jed York is saying, we want Brock Purdy. Long time. I spoke to the agent. It sounds like all signs are pointing towards a quick resolution, but we will see as the weeks go on. It's the new league year in a month from yesterday. So basically in a month, the new league year, free agency starts, the legal tampering period. We're moving quick, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving quick. So let's take a look at some of the more of these questions. Chris Teal says, rumors the Niners could get Joey Bosa. And what if we get him and Trey Hendrickson to go with those two? I mean, I wouldn't hate Joey Bosa, but you gotta tamper expect. You're not getting Joey Bosa prime years, but it would probably be cool. Bosa brothers. I think we've been talking about this for years. Oh my God, the Bosa brothers. But I mean, Joey's got a lot of injury risk. I mean, it is cool, but I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, he's the end all be all savior. It would still be pretty cool to get Joey Bosa to play with Nick Bosa. So it's true. It's a rumor. You never know. I'd be hyped if they did get it. What's up, Alex? Julius says, when was the last time the Niners had a top 10 offensive lineman? 2012. Offensive line. Top 10 offensive line. I probably, back in those days, I mean, you had Staley and, Davis and Ayupati. That was a Godwin. That was a great O-line, man. Those days were great. I mean, they had some really good ones. In 2019, it was pretty solid, but they haven't been like elite over the last couple years. But Kyle Shanahan's had good enough O-lines, top 15, I guess that you'd say top 10. They've been pretty good, but protection-wise, it hasn't been what we've needed. I think they haven't had a stout line like the Eagles in ages. I mean, look how good that Eagles O-line, and they're just massive. They're just huge, and they're returning pretty much everybody on that team. But yeah, Niners need to stack that O-line, man. That's a big, big, big key to this offensive line. Rod says smoke season in full. Yeah, full tilt. Smoke season, baby. McGlinchey was top 10. Well, I don't think he means draft pick. I think he means like top 10 unit. I think that's what you're saying. McGlinchey, yeah, he was a top 10 pick. He shouldn't have. That was, oh my God. Let's go back and look at that draft, man. That was a horrible draft, wasn't it? Let me see. Mike McGlinchey. Let's take a look at that draft class. So was it what year was he drafted? 2018. Let's see. I remember they passed on a lot of players that I was just like pretty sick to my stomach that year. I remember I was like, what are you doing? Look at this. Look at this. Okay. I remember I wanted Quentin Nelson, but we weren't going to take him. He was number 6. 49ers had draft pick number 9. Okay. So after Mike McGlinchey, these are the players. They had Minkah Fitzpatrick. Oh my God. I probably threw up after they didn't get Minkah Fitzpatrick. Okay. You had Vita Vea at number 12. You had Marcus Davenport, Tremaine Edmonds, Derwin James, Jair Alexander, Leighton Vander Esch, Frank Ragnow. I mean, Jesus, man. DJ Moore. You had Calvin Ridley, Terrell Edmonds. Jesus, Sony Michel. Lamar Jackson at quarterback, number 32. Last pick of the first round. You picked all those guys went after Mike McGlinchey. Unbelievable. Where can you get this sweater? Oh, man. Where did I get this? This is an older one, but I got it back in like the 2019 season or something around that time. The year they had their 75th anniversary. 2021. Is that when it was? Yeah, 2021, I guess. I got it from the NFL. No, I got it from the actual team store out in Levi's, but they did sell it online for a long time. You can probably look at it at Amazon. But yeah, I haven't seen them many other places. They don't have them at the team shop. I got it at the team shop years back. I guess 4 years ago now. But you can probably look on it online, Amazon. Maybe the team shop still has them online, but I doubt it. Jordan Mailata was in the 2018 draft too, 7th round. Yeah. 7th round. That guy's a dog, man. Eagles have developed some really good players over the years, but yeah, Niners can't be messing around. Like Dominic Pooney's really good. That was a great draft pick, but they need to get a whole bunch of other Dominic Pooneys. And the thing is, Trent Williams is amazing. We love him, but he's getting older. They got to find the heir apparent to Trent Williams and the guy that could come in and take his role. So O-line's definitely a need. I see that. Now, defensive line's also a role. Last night, Jeremiah Daniel from Move the Sticks, he a big draft guy, right? He said that this draft class is like so stout in defensive talent. A couple days ago, I think Bleacher Report did a mock draft actually yesterday, and they had Walter Nolan, defensive lineman of Ole Miss, as the pick. I mean, can you imagine if this guy was the defensive line pick they took in the first round? I mean, I don't even know if he's going to last to the top 10, but he can be a guy that can replace Javon Hargrave like that, because they are getting rid of him this offseason, right? They're going to do the post-June first cut. They said maybe he could come back. He's not going to want to play for less money. So you get a guy like Nolan. Oh my God, there's Mason Graham. There's so much good defensive linemen. That's just the first round. There's like studs all over this draft. This is one of the deepest defensive line draft like in ages. So that's what they're saying. The 49ers definitely could get someone in that range in that first round at D-line. Like, I know a lot of people are going to get mad because of the fact that they need O-line, but man, you can't pass on some of this generational talent, I feel. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Now, I don't know. You guys want O-line, but I want O-line, but I wouldn't be mad if they get, a defensive line like Walter Nolan, again, Abdul Carter. Like, there's so much talent at defensive line this year. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Walter Nolan is like Jalen Carter. Yeah, he's definitely like Jalen Carter. And, look at how he's done with the Eagles. Like, you need to build the Eagles gave us the blueprint, right? They gave us the blueprint on what to do. Stack the trenches. It's that simple. Just get nasty guys in the middle. I mean, look what Vic Fangio did. He doesn't even blitz. He just has 4 strong guys on that D-line, and they just get after people. So, I don't know. I would love Walter Nolan. One guy I don't love, we're going to move on to the next topic. The 49ers lifted the suspension of linebacker Devondre Campbell, and he is now set to become a free agent. This was according to Aaron Wilson yesterday. He's going to be a free agent and feel free to sign with any team in the league in March. You think anybody wants Devondre Campbell after what he did, after everything he did to Niners, when he quit on the team? And when there was Fred Warner, who played through injury, George Kittle that played through injury, you had Charvarius Ward, who played after his daughter died. This man quit on the team because he wasn't the starter anymore, even though he knew he wasn't going to be the starter anymore. Bro's ego got the best of him. He quit. Now they lifted the suspension because the season's over. He didn't get paid for those final games, and he's free to sign. You think anybody's going to sign you, Devondre Campbell? You're done. He better line up in the unemployment line. He better figure out how to be a cashier or something, because he's not going to be playing in the NFL. What a guy. I laughed when I saw that update that, he is released from his suspension. I almost cracked up so bad, man. Let me tell you something. He gone. He's done, man. He's gone. What a joke. What a absolute joke Devondre Campbell was this year. Oh, my God. But speaking of Devondre Campbell, that just tells us we need linebacker depth. Whether Dre Greenlaw comes back or not, you need to have depth at linebacker, because if he comes back, you still need to make sure you have an insurance policy. Now, I know they have some young linebackers on the team, right? D. Winters, Tatum Bethune, Jalen Graham, but regardless, you still need some depth at linebacker. But we'll see how it goes. My man Rob says, paper or plastic? That's exactly what Campbell's going to be saying. He's going to be at the Walmart. Paper or plastic? Paper or plastic? Campbell Soup doesn't even want you. Sheesh. Tyler Booker at 11, guard from Alabama. He's a dog. He's definitely a big-time player. But I think if the 49ers are going to take a lineman in the first round, I hope it's a tackle. I think tackles are definitely harder to come by. It's harder to find good offensive linemen than it is defensive linemen. And I know that's the reason why I really hope they do take, as much as we talked about how good this D-line is and they're stacked with talent, I still lean towards the O-line because it is harder to find and develop really, really good offensive linemen, especially tackles. And if this team is, or if this draft is so deep in the trenches at D line, then maybe you really do have to get an offensive lineman, because you could still find a really quality D lineman down the line in the draft. But there's some generational D linemen. So it's going to be a tough decision. But I do think the 49ers, if they're going to take an offensive lineman in the first round, it's got to be a tackle. I think guards are a little bit easier to develop and find. Look at Dominic Pooney. He was third round last year? And they nailed it on that. So I think they could find a guard in the third round, day 2. But if you want a first round pick, it has to be a tackle. You have to get a tackle because you need a guy that can play right tackle, because Colton McKivitz he's not a starter, right? And then you have to find a guy that maybe can replace Trent Williams next year, which I think Trent Williams will be gone after this season, right? So imagine this. Let's say you draft Will Campbell. I'm just using it as a hypothetical. He plays right tackle in his rookie season. Trent Williams retires, and then you could put Will Campbell at left tackle, and then he could be the heir apparent. And then maybe that year you go get a free agent to replace Trent Williams, or you get another draft pick, or maybe Jalen Moore can play that right spot. So I think that's the way to do it, and take a tackle. If you're going to draft a lineman at 11, it's got to be a tackle to me. That's my take. But Oren Burks, he shut down Kelsey. Man, crazy. Oren Burks, man, revenge game in the Super Bowl was wild. That for sure was wild. My man Chris says 2013, 2019 seasons, the Niners made the Super Bowl both years. The previous season, 6 wins. Now last season, 6 wins. Do the Niners make it a Super Bowl? Oh, that's wow. Is that real? 2013, the year before? 2012, they had 6 wins. 6 wins. And then they make the Super Bowl. 2019, the year before, they had 6 wins. This year we had 6 wins. Next year, did they have 6 wins in 2012? I feel like that was the year. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. That's crazy. That's a stat. I thought 2012 they had more wins than 6. Maybe you're right. If that's a true stat. Yeah, 11-4 in 2012. See, that's what I thought. I thought they had more wins than that in 2012. I didn't think they had 6. But if it's something, whatever you can find me a stat, and we hope the trend continues. Whatever you got to do. Niners to the bowl next year. I hope so. It's in Levi's. It's literally in my backyard. I'll be like in the trenches next season. I'll definitely be on media week. I'm going to be there. Regardless if the Niners are there or not. I want them to be there because it'll make my week better. But regardless, I'm going to be on media row. They're going to get tired of me. Oh man. But yeah, exciting times off season. 49ers. They're, basically all in on Brock. They might lose their director of scouting. They're going to lose Brandon Staley, which I don't think any of us are upset about. And, Devondre Campbell, he gone. Now, one story yesterday, we'll get to a couple more last stories regarding Deebo Samuel. I don't know if you guys saw the videos, but on Nightcat Show, the podcast with Chad Ochocinco and Shannon Sharp, they basically said, yo, Deebo, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. And they said, look, man, the 49ers know how to utilize you. You got Kyle Shanahan. You're a yak machine. You're a versatile receiver. Basically said Kyle Shanahan made him because no other team would utilize his skill set like Shanahan. And I think that's a fact that Kyle Shanahan got the most out of him than any other team. I think they utilized them better than any team ever would. But now I don't think the Niners should keep him. I think that, he requested his trade. It's time to move on with the Niners and Deebo. They both need a clean slate from each other. But the advice that Ochocinco basically said was, look, man, be careful what you wish for. You might think you go into another team and you're going to be great and this and that. But he goes, you might not get more opportunity. Like, the thing about Deebo is he wants more opportunities. He wants the ball in his hands. He's not the top receiver anymore. And I think it pisses him off. But the 49ers gave him that chance towards the end of the season. They force-fed him the ball, and he, dropped passes. He was not playing well. But I think mentally, he's just done with the Bay. But I think the advice that Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco gave him was really good advice, because Uncle Shannon Sharp said, look at Tyreek Hill. He went to Miami, right? You were a Super Bowl champ. You went from the Kansas City Chiefs to Miami. You got a lot of money, pretty girls in Miami, a lot of great things to do. There's the beaches. You haven't won nothing. Your stats have suffered. So he took a dive as a football player. I mean, his bank account looks nice, but sometimes it's about money for these guys. But I do like the advice they gave Debo. But don't always think that the grass is always going to be greener on the other side. Because you know what? The grass on the other side is still fucking grass. It's still grass. It may not be greener, and it may be greener, but regardless, grass on the other side is still grass. That's what Richard Sherman said a couple weeks ago. And that man is a smart guy. So what if the trade request is just a negotiation technique? I mean, I think that's part of it. I think he is negotiating, but I don't think he's coming back to the Niners. Regardless, the Niners are going to ask him to take a pay cut. They're not paying him all that money. It's just like Arik Armstead last season, right? I think Deebo Samuel is this year's Armstead. And the Niners are they want him. If he has the will to play, I think they like Deebo Samuel, and they say, hey, look, if you want to stick around, we'd love to keep you. I mean, John Lynch said it, right? They don't want to get rid of him. They thought they were going to keep him. But, after the fact, Deebo had his conversation with them and says it's time for us to part ways. But I definitely think that regardless if he requested this or this came to light, I think the 49ers would have asked him to take a pay cut, right? Like Armstead, and I don't think he would have done it. So I think the 49ers, regardless, would have released him so he can seek a team to give him more money. I think the Niners were going to give him a big pay cut like they were going to do with Armstead, and I don't think that he liked that, and I think Deebo says, all right, bet. I'm going to try to get a trade. If I can find a trade partner, cool. If not, cut me, and then I'll go to another team. I really think that's bottom line what this comes down to. It's part of it's money, and part of it is he just needs a fresh start. But I think part of it is for sure the money. So going to be interesting, though, to see how it goes. There's been a lot of rumors. Adam Schefter yesterday on Pat McAfee said maybe he'll go to an AFC North team. They all need receivers. They've been looking for Steelers, Ravens, the Browns, right? They all need receivers. Maybe the Bengals, if they get rid of T. Higgins, you get a guy like Deebo in to come in and replace T. Higgins. So we'll see. There's a lot of teams that would be rumored to get Deebo Samuel. My prediction is he goes to Miami with Miami Mike. I think he'll go to Miami. I think he fits that system. He had his best years with Mike McDaniel on the 49ers. I think that makes the most sense if he goes to South Beach. I mean, I could see Deebo love living in Miami, right? I could see it. I think South Carolina Carolina would be another team. Those are my top two destinations for Deebo. Carolina, because he's a Carolina boy, and Miami. I mean, he's a Southern guy. I think those teams would fit him the best. And I also don't sleep on Texans, right? They've had some banged up issues with receivers. They could use depth, and they got D'Amico Ryans. So you can't count that out. Washington, Adam Peters, right? The Adam Peters effect. But I think if I had to narrow it down to two teams, I'm going Carolina Panthers and Miami Dolphins. To me, those are the two teams that I would narrow it down to. And shout out to my boy, Diamond Lenore. This guy is the GM of the offseason. This guy, I love him. Did you see him on Twitter today? Kession Nixon, the Packers cornerback. They're all friends. Nixon and Lenore and Deebo, they're all friends. But it's funny because they go back and forth on Twitter. Earlier today, Kession Nixon, actually yesterday, some Packers page, Ike Packers podcast said, breaking, Deebo Samuel is available for trade. Packers time to bring in a number one. This was a Packers fan page. And Nixon quote tweeted him and says, we love him, but we don't want him, right? With the laughing emoji. Diamond Lenore, he quote tweeted that. And he says, you scared of the hitting drills? Basically calling them soft because we know Deebo, they hit you in the mouth. And then Nixon later after that, he says, yo, Tay Adams, pull back up, like come back to Green Bay. And then Diamond Lenore just said, monkey see, monkey do. Because Diamond Lenore the other day was the one that was recruiting Tay Adams to the Bay. So it's like, you're copying me, monkey see, monkey do. You don't want Deebo, but you want Tay Adams? You must be soft. I love Diamond Lenore, man. This guy is bringing all the smoke this offseason. He's a funny guy, and he's, saying everything the Niner fans would say. I love him. Good stuff. We'll see again what happens with Deebo Samuel. I do not think that he will be back in the Bay. I think ultimately, if they don't, he's going to try to get a trade. I think at best you get a 4th or 5th round. I don't think you get anything better than that. That's being generous, especially after a bad year last year. The injuries, all those things add up. I think 4th or 5th round pick. If the Niners don't take it, I think he'll get cut post June 1st designation and go to another team that pays him what he wants. So we'll see. Interesting stuff. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll be live tonight with Larry Krueger. Whenever he texts me, we'll figure that out. But we'll be live again tonight. I hope you guys had a good day. Love you. And as always, go Niners. Make sure you hit that like button, baby.